So as we all know, there is a trio of universally despised artistic forms: mime, barbershop quartet, and interpretive dance. Now, prepare to defend yourself as I accuse you of being an interpretive dancer. Are you not an interpretive dancer?
That you're going to string me up for my barbershop quartet days. Am I not an interpretive dancer?
Maybe later.
I think interpretive dance is. I can't remember if it was something else that had me thinking about this recently, but it's funny. I remember asking a colleague recently, like, what is interpretive? What do people mean when they say interpretive dance? Because I feel like that expression maybe only exists as a criticism. I'm not sure it actually exists as an actual form, or it's maybe a slur that we ascribe to dance that feels explicative, or where there's sort of some kind of metaphors that are being delivered in a very heavy-handed way. We can feel the limitations of the form, or a kind of misapplication of the form of, say, what dance can do, where it's at a point where you go, why don't you just speak? You know,
I am a tree. Why don't you speak? I am pollution. Right? Think about it.
Yeah. And yeah, I have done plenty of, an awful lot of time being trees as well. All right, to try and defend it, say,
if you want.
No. I think it's an interesting question. I think the potential for the human body to express more than a human body, or more than a person, more than a personality, I think is profound and can be touching and can be very effective. There's something in my own work, whether it's through poverty of resources or it's an actual philosophy, I'm not sure anymore. But Grotowski's idea of the poor theater is something that always appealed to me and continues to appeal to me now. As much as it's wonderful to have fantastic set and costume and lights and bells and whistles, the work that speaks to me most is work that is stripped back, where there's space for the audience's imagination to come and meet the performer, and that everything the performer is doing is more an offer. There's no real illusion that what they're seeing is real, and that's part of the magic of it. That's what theater can do that cinema doesn't. And so I'm usually interested in paring things back to the essential. And when it comes to physical movement, therefore, being able to communicate something with the body that surprises, that can stir the imagination of the audience, I think is when it's good, can be wonderfully effective, and it gives great freedom. I can think of moments in workshops I've done with students where you may be retelling a fairy tale, and it's Little Red Riding Hood, and you have, to use the cliched example, students being trees, but to embody the quality of a tree, the quality of menace in a dark forest. Okay, that's anthropomorphizing the tree. So is it a human version of a tree, or is it a tree-like version of a human? That's where it's interesting. But I think it's possible. I think it's possible for the human body to communicate more than the sum of its parts. And when it's good, it can be very effective, because there's something a bit magical about it. There's a magic in the impossibility. It's the very fact that you can't be a tree, that you're not wooden, and yet being able to embody the quality of something where an audience goes, yeah, that's what it's like. That reminds me of the feeling of a forest closing in on you, or the quality of rootedness and the relationship between the steadfastness of a tree and the agitation and the torment of the wind in a storm. There's poetry in that. There's poetry in it if we see it in real life. But I think being able to embody that as a performer, I feel like that the unit of theater is the human being, and the more you can accept and embrace that, and a sense of infinite or impossible possibility in the human body, I think that's where really interesting things happen. To also defend mime, given that I'm probably more of a mime artist than an interpretive dancer, it's sort of the same logic for me. It's the sense of there's nothing here, but I should do something, right? There is no glass, but by the virtuosity of the performer inviting the audience to kind of fill in the details, you can create something out of nothing, which is magic. And there's great freedom with mime. I think it's a wonderful teaching tool, without even having to get into the incredible discipline of true mime artists, of the kind of control that they have over the body through rigorous training. I think the very notion of being able to play like a child, of suddenly saying, okay, now we're on a pirate ship and I have a sword and I've asked you, the freedom to not need a prop item, to not need costume, to not need anything else other than the spur of imagination, I think is an incredible creative freedom. And I really, really enjoy it when I see an empty stage and I'm taken through many different worlds by the performers, and afterwards to just remind myself that there was nothing there. There was nothing there except the offer of the performers, the dynamism of their performance, and the richness of my own imagination filling in the gaps. So I think cliched kind of street corner mime can be virtuosity for its own sake. It can be a parlor trick, but I think there's a certain magic in somebody who uses mime to tell stories and does it with the same kind of sensitivity and sense of how theatre works, and the magic of creating something out of nothing, that I think is the essence of great theatre.
Yeah, well, for every performance, we always know that it isn't real. There's always nothing there, but with mime, there's even more nothing there. Less is more, I guess.
Yeah.